Hi, my name is Hunter Sanders, and this is my project too. That's what that says. So, on the first video that we watched, it was about the C3 framework. This framework was designed to engage students in the understanding of what it means to be an active role in society. They would learn the democratic process and the principles of the Constitution and how they have changed throughout the years progressively. Um, Maybe depending on how you look at the situation. Uh, and in this video, it talks about four different dimensions that when you are engaging students in this, that you should process. The first one is starting with a question. In the lesson, I believe they were talking about the importance of voting. So the question was, what does it mean to vote? And what is the importance behind it? And this engaged the students and gave them a heads up of what the lesson might be about. The second dimension was applying disciplinary concepts and tools, and this refers to looking at the different aspects of social studies and figuring out how you relate them to one another, and this creates a better understanding overall. The third dimension was evaluating sources and using evidence. In the video, the class was talking about the importance of voting, and they took a poll and they asked multiple age groups of people if they think it's important to vote, and they compared and contrast their answers in the age groups. And this is an important step to truly figure out the process. Uh, you have to go out and figure out what is actually going on. And then the last step was communicating conclusions and taking informed action. In this step, this helps the students become more engaged by getting out into the community and making a difference. The next video was about the wetland watchers, and this one was really interesting to me. This project is to inform students on how they can save the environment. A teacher took his students out and he started planting trees in little tabs, and it turned into this big program, and it was really awesome to watch. Um, but they students learned a lot through this program. They monitor water qualities, and they teach them about the threats of the environment and how they can help. And this really is a hands-on experience. This allows, and one thing that I saw that was really cool in the video is the students that are in the program are allowed to go to different lower level classrooms and teach the other students about what they have learned in this program. And if a student can teach what they are learning, then obviously that is a clear sign that they are getting it. Um, they say that they have learned. The people in this program say that they have learned more through this than they would have ever learned by sitting in front of a chalkboard. And I was one of those students where I did think that I learned better hands-on, and so I thought this program was a really cool idea. And then the next one is community projects. Um, this was a video about a school decided they would set aside a couple of days every year to work on community projects to better the school community. And in this video, they decided that they wanted to help a student who was in the fifth grade that had troubles from getting from one end of the school to the other. And they wanted to invent something that would help them, that would be cost effective versus buying a wheelchair that would be thousands. And the students came together and they decided they wanted to make a hoverboard chair for the student. And it was really cool to see how they came together and they really thought about what materials they were going to use. They thought about uh, how, like, what is the best functioning way design, like what is the best functioning design. um, uh, but it was just really cool to watch them. Oh, and then another thing is while they were working on the project, if there was ever an issue, they would collaborate together and figure out the issue as a class. And it was just really cool to see them be so enthusiastic about helping. And that's one thing that we need to teach students and show them how good it feels to help someone else in need. The next video was about finding solutions to hunger. This one was a very cool one as well. The idea is to use hunger as a yearly theme throughout your school, and this doesn't mean this has to be a constant topic throughout the classroom. In this little thing that it was reading, there was 25 different lessons, and you do not have to incorporate all 25 to get a clear message across. Each lesson was designed to be used individually. One of the lessons that I talked about was the hunger banquet, and this is you set up 3 different tables. One table has a lot, one table has just enough, and the other table has just rice and water. And this raises questions as to why is there not enough food? Who controls where the food goes? Why does some people have a plentiful amount of food and some people are struggling to get a hold of food? And you can make connections in hunger throughout many different subjects. Uh, this is also a learning tool to get students to go out there and make a change. iEarn uses this program, and that means 20 different countries around the world are also teaching their students on how to solve hunger. And I think this is a very awesome way to implement. This is something that we need to implement inside classrooms. The next one was real world problem solving. This is showing students what they can do in the classroom and how it affects what happens in the community. So in this video, it was really cool. They have an agriculture program, and they have a whole farm full of animals, and they were having an issue where the animals were escaping, and they wanted to figure out how to keep them in their pens. And they collectively decided that the animals were bored. And so the students came together and they all decided that they wanted to build a playground for them. And so they started collecting materials, figuring out what uh, uh, playground, what's the word? I'm trying to think of the word. But anyways, they each created their own model and they decided which model would work best for the pen. Another way that they used this, so there was a first grade class, and each year they would tag butterflies and they would watch them hatch. Well, one year they didn't see any butterflies, and so the school called the near wildlife park and they asked them, what's going on, and they explained to them what happened. And so they brought the park rangers to the classroom, and they had a whole lesson about where the butterflies were, why they weren't coming, and what the students could do to help. And so the students figured out how they could help, and they decided they needed to plant their favorite plants around the area to bring the butterflies back. And so that's what they did. They collaborated and they came together and they brought the butterflies back. And it was really cool to see. So the next one was service learning, and in this one it was really cool because the students have their own greenhouse and they were growing their own food. Just like any kind of project that they would have in a classroom, uh, you want to incorporate it into the community. And this lesson, it teaches them how they can be self-sustainable in their own backyards, growing their own crops. And it was really cool to see because the crops that they were growing inside school, or not inside school, but inside school hours, they were eating in the cafeteria, and they were also sharing their food with the middle school and elementary school. And this also taught them responsibility because, if you leave a plant gone for a day, it could die. And so what they would do is the students would plant stuff in the spring, and they would watch it until summertime, and then when fall came around, uh, the students that were in the class would be able to pick them, and then they would serve the food in the cafeteria. And it looked like a really rewarding experience because they get to see how hard work pays off in the form of food. The next one was Reality PD, and this framework was designed to engage all students at all learning level in rigorous work. It was designed to help students who are more advanced include primary, document, and find the most. So in this video, they were talking about, it was a lesson in high school, and it was a social studies lesson, and they were talking about. I'm sorry, my sister is taking a shower at the moment, but they were talking about the treaty. They were talking about the time between World War One and World War Two, and they were talking about the Great Depression, and they were reading over treaties, and the teacher was having them to read through all of them and decide the most important sentence in that. And this helped them whenever it came time to when they needed to evaluate the whole paragraph. That was the main thing that they were going to talk about, and it was really cool to see the teacher work with them on that. And the last video is classroom clips. I was a little confused on this one. I didn't get to see a whole lot because the students were writing their opinions in the last minute of it. But in the beginning, to start off the classroom discussion, and they were talking about amendments. They decided if they were going to give up either the religious freedom or freedom of speech in the First Amendment, and they decided that they didn't want to give up either. But they were going to talk about the Second Amendment, and they were going to talk about gun control. And I know that that is a very um, touchy subject, um, and the teacher handled it very well. And she wanted the students to explain to her how they felt about gun control. And so she had all of them write their opinions on a piece of paper about guns, and that's where the video ended. But yes, and that is my video. Thanks.